Hello, everybody. Welcome. Many of you know me, some of you don't. For those of you who are new to 31st Street, I'm Lisa Herrick. I founded 31st Street. And for those who know us and know me, you've heard this 1,000 times, but I'm just going to say a thimbleful. Started this group with 30 people in my living room. My husband and I live on 31st Street in Washington, D.C., hence our name. And the first few years that we were in existence, we Skyped with candidates. Do you remember Skype? Similar to Zoom, but different. And we Skyped to say hello to candidates that were unknown at the time. People like Abigail Spanberger and Alyssa Slotkin and Colin Allred and Hallie Stevens, all of whom are in office now and doing amazing things. And tonight we have Beto O'Rourke, which is, I would, not really have predicted that we'd have somebody so renowned 10 years later, but here we are, and it's thrilling. We also are going to have two candidates for the legislature in Texas, Ozzie Ochoa and Katie O'Brien-Duzan. So we're going to hear from them, and as usual, we're going to hear from Jim. Before I say just a couple more words, I want to thank all of our ambassadors. We have a whole bunch of people that Mary Pence, our fundraising guru, signed up to help us spread the word tonight. So thank you one and all to everybody who agreed to be an ambassador, co-host, and invite your friends and family. We really appreciate it. This is the way we do things, and we couldn't do it without you. Before I hand it over to Jim, all I want to say is that we have a bi-weekly leadership call we have 16 leaders of 31st Street. We meet bi-weekly, and on this call, somebody was worrying out loud about our very ambitious goal of raising $240,000 for Texas. And Mary Pence, who always says this when people are worrying, she says, we are going to make our goal because we always have and we always do. And what she didn't say is because we have to. When you have to do something, there's a much greater chance that you will actually do it. And it just occurs to me every time we do one of these fundraisers that in the history of everything, going back everywhere all over the globe, there have been efforts by people to do the impossible, and they have been jailed for it, they have been beaten for it, they have been killed for it, they have been exiled for it, and we don't have to suffer any of those things. We just have to donate our time and our money, and sometimes get out on the streets and protest. So we are the lucky ones, but that doesn't mean the cause is any less important than people who have fought for civil rights or against the Nazis or independence from Britain. There are so many things human beings have fought for in a persistent, over a long period of time way, and that is the grassroots movement of America over the last 10 years. The grassroots movement has gotten only stronger and wider since 2016 because we have to do this. So I thank all of you for being here, and I don't diminish your donation of time and money, but I also just want to emphasize, thank goodness that that's all we need to donate, but the cause is just as important, which is saving the democracy of this country. So thank you. And Jim, I hand it over to you.
Great, Lisa. And in terms of meeting that goal, we are actually just over half of the way there, thanks to to our goal of 240,000, thanks to our ambassadors' hard work so far. So hopefully we'll, get pretty close or actually reach our goal tonight. Now, I am the political analyst of 31st Street. For those of you who maybe don't know me, The best way I can communicate is by showing slides. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as I typically do. Okay, so for those of you who don't know us, just to say that we do operate under some systematic principles. We look for really good opportunities to elect Democrats, strategic opportunities, and particularly, which is apropos of tonight, we sometimes look for things that other people are not doing. We call it zigging when other people are zagging. So. And part of that is because our system is so, if you will, top heavy with funding for marquee candidates, and we love them, we want them all to do well and so forth. But there's a lot of other races that we think we can address systematically and also benefit at the same time those marquee races. So here's what we have been doing. And this is our modus operandi. In the off season, we fund a lot of infrastructure, organizing, voter registration. But key to us is that we've actually been supporting state legislatures for 10 straight years. And a lot of that's because Virginia has odd year elections. So we think we're getting pretty good at that. This year, we think there's going to be a really blue wave. And we don't think other people are really positioning that well for it. But we are, in terms of these legislature races, by supporting leading edge candidates such that if they win, we can actually flip these legislatures and also help the up ballot. So we've already done North Carolina and Iowa, and now we've taken on the challenge of Texas that we're going to talk about. And of course, it does support those up ballot candidates, of which here's something that people outside of Texas may not really appreciate. It's really very clearly a minority majority state. And this is not the voting population, the voting age population, but it does tell you that there's a lot of potential for winning in this state. And as one of my colleagues from Texas Swing Left says, it's not that Texas is a red state as so much it is a low voting state. And that's the one reason why Beto, for example, is working so hard on voter registration. So at the top of the ticket, and one of the reasons why the opportunities are so great in Texas, it really is a once in a generation opportunity in Texas. And that's why we are really pulling out all the stops. We're not going to talk about this race, but we do, it is good to have him at the top, along with the other statewide races. And he's doing very well. Latest polls, last four of them, fairly even, with him a little ahead. This is where we like to be. We like to be where it makes a difference. Even a state like Texas, small margins can make a big impact. And to the extent that we can impact him, among other things, by getting strong legislature candidates, that can really help us turn the tide in Texas, and that means the nation. But here's the thing. He's raising money hand over fist. More power to him. That's fine. $30 million a record and so forth. And he's also getting dark money, if you will, PACs and so forth. So that's why we don't want to invest that. We want to invest our money in a different way to complement that. So the Texas House is where we're focused, and we're going for the gold. And here's the math. 150 seats, 76 for a majority. 62 Democrats that are actually in very good shape because of the gerrymandering. They're not really much at risk. There are another 2 seats that we're not going to support because we really think they are very well poised to win. But then we've got our 15 candidates. And again, we call them leading edge candidates. These are all competitive races. These are all races that are winnable. and they're under-resourced, but that's why we're doing this. So actually, if I got my math right, if everything goes right, it actually could result in a 8-seat majority with 79 seats, which does allow us some wiggle room. But even if we don't win all of them, there definitely will be substantial inroads, and that's going to help greatly in any case. And then, as I keep saying, help boost the up ballot races. So here they are, the 15 candidates. We'll be hearing from Ozzie Ochoa after Beto. We'll have Beto first, then Ozzie, and then Katie Duzan. And I will say again, after doing this for 10 years, this is probably the best set of candidates that I can recall that we have supported. And that's been a number of years in a number of different states. The House caucus has done a really good job of recruiting people, and we've talked to every one of them. So they're just under-resourced because people don't really appreciate the potential here. So what are we doing? Well, we're supporting something very special. We're not just giving them money, which would be good, but not as good as this. We're supporting local social media. And what does that mean? It means things like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. And the advantages of that is that you can do really good voter targeting geographically, like by zip code and by demographics to reach voters. And it's a really good complementary kind of thing to the other things that they're going to be doing. It's not that expensive. And when we've talked to each and every one of them, they have all said that it was something that they need in their campaign. And again, we're not just giving them money for that. The House caucus identified a really good set of people that know how to do this. We've already started the training, which is like group training, but also hands-on training and technical assistance, and then money called boosting for the ads to get it out to the target audience. So here's what we're asking from you. Our goal was 240,000 going through the Texas House Caucus PAC, actually. And there's a donation link in the chat, of course. And of course, we're going to be hearing from Beto, and this is the thing for tonight. So with that, hopefully Beto is here, and he's got a certain amount of time with us. We're just going to let him loose and say whatever he wants to say. If there's a little bit of time for questions, put a question or two in the chat. That might work also. So over to you, Beto.
Hey, Jim, thank you. It's good to be with you all on the loose and to have this focus on these great House Democrats who have a chance to, this may sound like hyperbole, but I honestly believe it, to save the country. And here's the case that I want to make to you. The most, I think, important U.S. Senate race in America, which represents the 51st vote in that chamber, is happening right now, as Jim said, between James Tallarico and Ken Paxton. And it's looking really good. Tallarico's raising more than any Senate candidate has ever raised. He's up against the most desirable opponent you could want, a twice indicted, under active FBI investigation, corrupt attorney general. And it's got great national support. We also have some of the most competitive congressional races in the country that will decide the balance of power in the House of Representatives. All that's going to come down to Texas as to whether we're going to have another 2 years of complete Trump control of this country, which I don't think we would survive. I think his consolidation of power, this slide into authoritarianism and fascism, would be unstoppable. On the other hand, if we win these big races in Texas, we get to fight another round. And key to that is what we're all supporting here today. You know, yes, James Tallarico has to go out there and inspire and win voters and turn out people who otherwise wouldn't show up. Gina Hinojosa for governor, these congressional candidates. But it's really those who are often, I think, misleadingly referred to as down ballot candidates. These are the state house candidates that we're supporting today who really hold the keys to victory. And I speak from experience. I ran in Trump's first midterm in 2018 for US Senate against Ted Cruz. Many of you were with us on that, and I'm grateful for it. And for those who don't remember, we didn't win, but we came very close. 2.5 points from defeating Ted Cruz, generated the greatest voter turnout for a Democrat in Texas in forever, won the 5 major metro areas and the surrounding counties for the first time since LBJ did it in 1964. We won Tarrant County, home to Fort Worth, which until then had been the largest reliably red urban county in America. And the kicker really for me was that 12 House Democratic candidates, Democrats, defeated 12 incumbent, well-funded, entrenched Republicans that year, including an unknown James Tallarico, who took on one of those incumbent, entrenched Republicans. You had 2 Democrats defeat entrenched Republicans in the House, Colin Allred and Lizzie Panel Fletcher. You had 19 Black women win election to judicial positions in Harris County, home to Houston, Texas, literally changing the face of criminal justice. There was a sea change across the board in Texas, which explains why the Texas legislature then in 2021 and 2023 changed the voting laws in Texas to make it much harder for something like that to happen again. So I saw the benefit, not necessarily of coattails. It wasn't me in 2018 lifting up all of these candidates, although we ran a great campaign as well. It was all of these down ballot candidates, these state house candidates in particular, who were meeting, connecting with, and turning out voters who, even though I traveled to every single one of the 254 counties of Texas, I would never have any prayer of meeting myself. They brought in net new Democratic voters that got us as close as we've ever been and really set the stage for us to win now in 2026 in Trump's second midterm. So the way that I look at it is these candidates are incredibly important to support because they could change the balance of power in the state legislature. They could ensure that we overturn or at least check the most obscene abortion ban in America, with no exception for rape, incest, or the life of the mother, a minimum wage that's $7.25, a state that leads the nation in school shootings still this many years after those 19 kids and 2 teachers were killed in Uvalde. We win the state legislature, everything becomes possible. But it is so much more than that. It is winning congressional races up ballot. It's winning the governor's race up ballot. And yes, it's winning the US Senate race. And that, I believe, more than anything else, could save our country at its moment of greatest need and greatest peril. And so that's why I am focused on these races, supporting these candidates. Amy, my wife, and I donating to this fund to make sure that we help them win their races and help them help others higher up on the ballot do the same. A couple of final points. The other side wants us to believe this is impossible. And of course, how many of us have had our hearts broken by Texas, one election cycle after the other? Those of us who know our history can remember the last time a Democrat won for Senate was 1988. The last time a Democrat won statewide at all was 1994. It has been more than a decade since we had, a shot at controlling the state legislature. So when they tell us we can't do it, it's easy to believe. But what I want you to know is that the conditions have never been more favorable. And I've been there when they've been pretty good back in 2018. We have 150 candidates running for 150 state house seats for the first time in forever, in at least 50 years. That's a fighter on every single front in the battle. We have 38 Democrats running for 38 congressional seats, a full House there as well. 16 Democrats running for 16 contested state Senate seats. We have Democrats running for county commissioners' courts, justice of the peace, appeals court, up and down the ballot. That, I think, is going to be the reason that we win all of these big top of the ticket races in November. It's these unsung heroes, most of whose names will never be shared on the front page of the New York Times, but who will deserve the credit for what we're about to see happen in the state of Texas. Our group that I help lead, called Powered by People, is out there working right alongside these state house candidates, primarily on college campuses. We're out at concerts, we're in clubs and cafes, everywhere we can find young people, future voters, in a state that makes it harder than any other to get registered or to cast a ballot. We're meeting those young people where they are, getting them registered, verifying their information on the rolls, asking them if we can personally stay in touch with them through their cell phone, getting that permission, and then getting them not only prepared to vote with the right kind of voter ID, with the knowledge of where their early voting location is and when early voting starts, but really staying on their case every single day of early voting until we can confirm that they have cast their ballot. This is the kind of program I wish had been in place in 2018 so that I could be speaking to you as a junior senator from the state of Texas right now and not just a volunteer with Powered by People. So thanks to Jim and the team for organizing this. Obviously the big thanks to all of these amazing candidates who are running for state house, and to each of you who is willing to support them and make sure that they have the resources to reach and connect and turn out these voters, but for their efforts and your donations probably will not participate in this election at all. So thank you all for doing this. And Jim, I don't know if any questions came through, and if there's time for me to answer them, I'm happy to do that. But I'm also just as happy to turn it over to you and watch with everyone else the rest of the program.
So Aaron, is there a question? First of all, let's applaud. Yes. Aaron, is there maybe one question that came out? Otherwise, we can switch to Ozzie.
Yes, there was one question. Welcome, Beto. I'm Aaron Hamburger. I do a membership here at 31st Street Swing Left. And there's a question about the funding for the Republican candidates. Is it from the Koch brothers? Is it from the tech sector? Who is funding their side?
All of the above. And I don't think that, unfortunately, we have begun to see the brunt of this. Remember, Elon Musk is now headquartered in the state of Texas, the world's first trillionaire who spent $300 million in the last election in 2024. There is no limit to what he can spend in his home state. Here's the thing, I don't know, but if I had to guess, he's going to be focused on these top of the ticket races. I think our secret weapon are these down ballot contenders who, again, they know their communities. They know the counties in which they're running to represent. They're going to pull in people that you just can't reach with money alone or technology alone, but it will take our money and support to equip and resource them so they can go reach all of those voters. So I think that's the way that we overcome this challenge. I don't know that we're going to beat them on money alone. And in fact, if I had to guess, as great as a job as James is doing in fundraising, that can easily be overshadowed by whatever Elon Musk or some of the others that you mentioned can put in. So I think this person to person, face to face, human to human, the way that they did democracy 2,500 years ago when they invented this thing, that's still the most, powerful force on the planet. And I think maybe even more so, given how divided and isolated we are and how separated by these screens we have become, when a down ballot state house candidate knocks on your door, there's a good chance no one else has done that in this election, nor will the Republicans do it, because I think they're going to take this for granted. So really good overall conditions. And even with the imbalance in money, I think the way that we will be spending this on these state house races will be to our competitive advantage.
Great. And actually, there was two people asking the same question, which is, what issues are motivating to young people in this election? And young Texans.
That's really interesting. I spend most of my time on college campuses, community college campuses, and in some cases, high schools, trying to register those who have newly turned 18 to vote. And I never start with, hey, you need to get registered to vote, or I want you to vote for a Democrat, or let me lecture you. I always begin with a question. What's important to you? What's on your mind? Do you like everything about the country and our state, or is there something that you'd want to change? And from that, we flow into how we're going to change it, which is by registering and voting. And when they answer that question that I ask, it really runs the gamut. I'll tell you, I hear a lot about Epstein and the disgust that these young people have who their BS detector is the most acutely sensitive that exists, right? They are not interested in explanations or excuses. Why aren't these guys in jail? How come there's no accountability for people who have raped and trafficked women and young girls? They're concerned about AI and data centers and these algorithms that seem to run our lives, the adults in their lives as well as theirs, and wondering whether anyone is in control at all or there's any kind of check on that power. I think they are rightfully cynical about the value of voting. And let me explain, because obviously I'm a big advocate of voting and registering people to vote. And that's all I do 24/7. But I think, if you put yourself in their shoes, they saw the mass shooting in El Paso when they were kids, 23 people here slaughtered. They saw the shootings in Uvalde. They saw the shootings at Santa Fe High School in Midland, Odessa. The list goes on and on. And after each of these shootings, you have politicians saying, hey, we can't do this anymore. We got to change. And they see their parents vote, and maybe their older brothers and sisters participate in politics. And then things don't change. And they're like, you know what, Beto, I don't think this stuff works at all. And I have to acknowledge that and say, you're right. This is taking far too long, and there's no good excuse that we haven't changed our laws. But if you don't get involved, they're not going to change by themselves. And let me tell you the story of voting rights or civil rights or reproductive health care rights or any kind of progress we've made. It has never happened overnight. And it's always happened, at least in my reading of history, because young people have been at the forefront of this change. So you are not our future, you are our right now, and we need you in this fight, and we're willing to follow you in it. So I think having those dialogues, those conversations, and for any of you, around kids this age, 18, 19, 20 years old, young people this age, they're not turned on by the Democratic Party, nor are they turned on by the Republican Party. They're kind of post-party. They just want to get behind people who are going to make change, who are going to be bold, and who are not going to accept the things that we know we have the power to make a difference in. And so I try to connect that with these candidates that we're talking about here today. So they're very aware. They're on top of this stuff. They want to make the world a better place. They just want to be honest, and they want us to be honest with them about what it's going to take to do that.
Great. Well, we really thank you for being here and for inspiring us. And we know we're going to succeed in this effort because we have to. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll turn it back to Jim.
Great. So another more applause. And let's turn it over to Ozzie. You may be on mute, Ozzie.
All right, there we go. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Beto. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for 31st Street Swing Left for having me today. My name's Ozzie Ochoa Jr., and I'm the Democratic nominee for House District 37, where we're going up against a Republican incumbent, which is named Janie Lopez. So, it's become one of the most competitive races according to the DLCC in Texas. We're actually number 3. So pretty competitive race. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. The fact that you're willing to get on in an afternoon and support candidates across the country says a lot. And it's important because what happens at the state legislature really does matter. And we're, in fact, decisions made in Austin, Texas affect all our schools, our healthcare, our economy, and our daily lives here in Texas. So appreciate y'all allowing me to be in here tonight. So a little bit about my story, about who I am. I'm a lifelong resident of Harlingen, Texas, which is down south. I'm a husband, a father, and an educator. So I grew up on a small family farm where we learned the value of hard work, where we learned how to serve others. My dad is a Bronze Star Vietnam veteran and who was a mechanic. And my mom actually worked in the school cafeteria for 35 years. So really serving others really does impact and really important to us. So for the past 17 years, 18 years, I've been in the public education sector. So with that, I have been a teacher, a coach, an assistant principal, and now currently serve as the role of Director of Special Education for one of our local education agencies here in Texas. So I work alongside students, teachers, families, and families who just want their kids to succeed in life. I decided to run because I saw firsthand how the decisions in Austin, how the decisions at the legislature in Austin really affect our daily lives, really affect our families. And parents are just trying to access education. They're trying to go against these rising costs. They want people who understand their communities and make decisions that represent them, not the governor and not the president. They want people who represent them truly and who really advocate for them in Austin. So a little bit about House District 37. If you're not familiar, it's two counties, which is Willacy and Cameron County, which is the southernmost part of Texas as you can get. I know Beto earlier referred to Elon Musk. He's actually in our backyard. He's down here in South Padre, which is Starbase. So that's what we're dealing with right now. So House District covers two counties. The majority is Hispanic. It's built on working class individuals, built on agricultural, small business, education, healthcare, and hardworking families here in District 37. When I'm knocking on doors, people don't want to hear the political talking points. They're asking, how are we working to improve their lives? They're worried about the rising cost of groceries, property taxes, healthcare, how to fully fund their public schools, how to create good paying jobs, and making sure their children have opportunities to stay here and succeed in South Texas. But more than anything, they want a leader. They want representation in Austin who will listen, who's present, and who genuinely cares about them. We are a total grassroots campaign since day one. We don't rely on expensive consultants and paid canvassers and these big old PACs. No, it's straight grassroots from day one. We built this campaign on family and friends, volunteers, community members who believe in this campaign and what we're doing. We've knocked on hundreds, thousands of doors, attended community events, held countless conversations. We actually recently got endorsed by Texas AFL-CIO. We've also been endorsed by educators, labor organizations, community leaders, and just hardworking families who believe in this campaign. We also have the momentum. We just came off a Democratic runoff where we succeeded with 62% of the vote. And now we're focusing on November 3rd against a highly Republican incumbent who's won the last two terms, not based on her, but based on Donald Trump and Greg Abbott, who doesn't truly represent our area, who doesn't truly represent our people. So even if you live hundreds and thousands of miles away, we can still make a difference, right? Your financial support will help us, help our campaign. It'll continue to keep volunteers on the ground. It'll continue to help us print literature, knock on doors, and have a real opportunity to win here in House District 37. Social media is important. It really helps us as far as following our campaign, sharing our posts, commenting, helping tell our story that reaches beyond South Texas. So every share helps us connect with many, much more people. So that helps. So I truly believe this campaign is one of the most competitive, but I also think it's the most flippable seat in Texas. We talked about turning red. It didn't turn red. It was a low participation turnout last time. In talking with Jim, we really got to focus on our low propensity voters. It's a matter of participation, getting people out to vote. It's about showing that we're investing in our community, we're listening to our people, and we're building this campaign from the ground up. So I want to say thank you all for believing in me. Thank you for believing in our campaign, and we can truly move Texas District 37 forward with your all's help. So I just want to say thank you once again, and vámonos con Ochoa.
Great. Okay, so now over to Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie O'Brien Duzan. I'm running for House District 94. Thank you so much for having us on and supporting. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm in my car. Right after this, I'm going to go talk to some voters, going to an event. We are working hard. I am a mom. I'm a business leader. I work a full-time job, and I'm raising a family, and I'm running for office, and I care very passionately about all three. I'll talk about it in a second, but with social media, it's actually part of what I do during my day job. So I'm in marketing for software. And so it's been very interesting to do that now with politics. And so I decided to run for this office. It's an open seat here in Tarrant County because I was very frustrated seeing what was happening to our community, and honestly terrified for our kids. As a mom, I was just terrified for what's the world that we're leaving for our kids. And I'm seeing what's happening to the people around me in my community. And I could either be frustrated about it, or I could go run and change it. And so that's what I decided to do. So I am running for our kids and our community, full stop. And about our district, this is Tarrant County, which is a large battleground county in Texas. If you think about the mid-decade redistricting that we just saw, that actually started in Tarrant County with our commissioner's court. They tried that mid-decade redistricting there first before we then saw it in Texas, and then of course what we've seen nationwide. So Tarrant County is a huge battleground, and this is an open seat. My district also overlaps 45% with our new state senator, Taylor Ramette. So I've had the ability to be block walking and supporting his race, along with a lot of other local races, which we've seen a lot of momentum and wins that we've seen from city council to that state senate seat all across my district over the past 6 months. So it has certainly been good indicators that we've seen on the ground here in Tarrant County. Another thing about our district as well is that we have Fort Worth ISD right next to us, which just had a state takeover, and we just saw 800 teachers leave that district. And so part of my district in Arlington ISD is facing that same state takeover, like a lot of other cities in Texas. So that is something that we are really looking at in our district. And finally, Arlington is the most diverse city in Texas, and it's the third most diverse in the country. Our plan for how we're going to win is field, data, and hard work. And so field, we are knocking on the doors. We are knocking on doors every weekend. As I mentioned, all these other races, we have been supporting our local candidates, but now we're knocking on doors every weekend. When we're trying to be smart, looking at the data, looking at the key precincts, looking at the data that we have available. So we're doing things, for example, where knocking on their door, sending them a text afterward, sending them a note, having a community event right in that precinct right near we knocked. So we're really trying to be thoughtful and smart about how we are activating our field and having that multi-touch approach. And social media, of course, is a part of that too. The issues that I'm hearing when I'm knocking on doors are things like public education. I mentioned the state takeover, which, by the way, taxpayers are still paying for the board managers that gets put in place, even though they have no representation because they're not elected. So public education, as well as fully funded public education, we're seeing we're seeing schools close across our districts. They're adopting budget deficits. My opponent, when asked about how she would fund public education, basically said, we need to look at who we're educating. And the suggestion there is kicking kids out of public education, which we cannot have that in the state legislature. And so public education costs, healthcare. I've heard, for example, at the door, a woman said, I'm worried about my daughter. She's in her early 20s. How is she going to be able to afford her healthcare because she has pre-existing conditions? So those are the big issues that I'm hearing at the door. And also hearing from folks, and Beto said it earlier, we're knocking on their door. And this gentleman I just spoke with last weekend said, you knocked on my door and I'm going to vote for you. Like sometimes it really is just about, listening to them, leading with what they care about and not about preaching to them, but just listening to what they have to say and interacting like a person. So that's an issue that we've been engaging on. And then social media, of course, having that ability to help to educate and engage. And like what was said earlier, you can really target and help to amplify posts that we know are working well and get them have more eyeballs. And the last thing I'll say with that is what we've seen is with some early polls that when voters hear anything about me, I win. And my opponent has a ceiling. So getting that word out is absolutely critical. And all the work we're doing in the field as well as social helps us get there. So thank you so much for having both of us on. Thank you for all the support that you're giving. It's true. These down ballot races, we are putting in the work and it's going to help everybody, including up ballot. So thank you.
Thanks, Katie. That was terrific. Now we're going to turn to my sister Mary, who's got a couple of words for us.
Hi, my name is Mary Pence, and I'd like to ask you to do something in a minute, but first I'd like to inspire you if I can. Ben Wickler has just written a new book. It's called This Is Our Plan. And in the book, he says that in fighting for our country, you will find community, meaning, and joy. Well, you found community tonight, and our speakers have addressed the meaning and the importance of this work that we are all doing. And finally, I'm about to help you experience the joy of giving. We all know that it feels better to give than to receive. So here's my ask. Would you please give until you feel joy? And if you've already contributed, would you consider giving again? For my husband Dan and me, it took a contribution of $2,000 for us to feel joy. You, of course, get to decide how much joy you can stand. Let me leave you with this vision. It's the evening of November 3rd, Election Day. I want you to picture yourself watching the results coming in and seeing that Katie and Ozzie and all the rest of our 15 candidates have won, that the Texas legislature has been flipped, that Talarico and Enosa have been elected, and that Beto O'Rourke is jumping up and down with joy. And I want you to picture yourself on that evening knowing that you have helped make it possible. And I thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mary. So now Aaron's going to help us with some more question and answers from Ozzie and Katie.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Mary, for that inspiring message. So we have a few questions in the chat that I've been curating. And if other folks have questions they want to ask, you can continue leaving them. But for now, I'm going to start off with Ozzie. Question was, how much time are you spending knocking on the doors, and what are the concerns that you are hearing?
All right. So knocking on doors. So I have a daughter and a son, a 9-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. And my wife is also a speech pathologist. So we work full time. When the moment we are out, We are knocking on doors. We're attending community events. We're speaking to the voters. The only way we can actually genuinely help is if we're listening. And when we spend hours and hours on the weekends, hours after work, we're talking to people across our district. Their biggest concern is the safety of their children as far as in public education, that they're educated. The rising costs right now, the minimum wage in the state of Texas is $7.25 an hour. When you have a gallon of milk that costs $6 to $7. So the concern is them putting food on the table, them deciding whether they are going to make a payment on that bill or they have to buy their children's school supplies. And the concerns are very, very, very interesting. They're also the biggest concern right now is our water, our AI data centers that are coming about around our area, and the amount of energy consumption that they have. So the concerns are, how are we going to help? What are we going to do? How can we represent them in Austin? And they need a fighter, one that can truly represent and that knows where they're coming from. So I think we're I know, Miss Mary, you did say that. Can you imagine seeing that? I can see that. As you were genuinely saying that, I pictured that happening, and I think we really can do it.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, this is a question actually for both of you, and maybe we'll start with Katie this time. Why do you think your constituents are reluctant to vote, if they are reluctant to vote? And then Ozzie, maybe you can talk after Katie.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, a lot of the people that I talk to are kind of fired up to vote. But when I do talk to people that are reluctant to vote, I actually just last weekend focused on those people that we are actively trying to increase turnout. So they would be a little bit more reluctant. It's more about feeling like their vote matters. You heard Beto talk about it earlier. Is it really going to make a difference? And that's the main thing that I'm hearing. Or for some people, there's one person that I can think of that, said, I don't really care. Like, he didn't really care. So that was the only one like that, but we have to personalize it for them. And again, ask them the questions to figure out the thing that they do care about, to increase that motivation. So those are the examples of when I've encountered reluctant voters. But to be clear, I don't encounter a lot of those right now.
Great. Ozzie, how about for you?
I think they're reluctant down here in the region. We're very family oriented. We a lot of culture down here, and I really think what's happening is that we get so busy and there's so much going on. And at times, they say, well, I'll go tomorrow or I'll go, the next day. And, by the time you know it, early voting's gone, right? And it's election day and you got a baseball game to go. Your daughter has something going on after school and they say, you know what? They may have the perception where their vote doesn't count. But now more than ever, our votes count. This is the most important midterm. And we say that every time, right? This is the most important, but truly, if we see what's happening across our state, we see what's happening across the nation. We are not on a good path as a state or a nation right now. And if we continue to make these decisions, it puts more burden on our middle class families. It puts more burden on our lower income families. So I think it's just a matter of getting people to vote. We're really concentrating on our low propensity voters. Anywhere between 0 to 60 right now is what we're going. Of course, we have our persuadable voters, but we really got to focus on our low propensities, because if we get them out, we can flip any seat in the House or across the state.
Great. Okay. Another question that came in. What reactions do you hear about Trump? Is he being associated with tariffs and rising costs, voter suppressions, et cetera? And again, maybe we'll start with Katie and then go with Ozzie.
I almost always hear very negative sentiments towards Trump. And that also can flow down to Abbott as well. They were very mad, for example, when I've talked to people about sending the voter rolls to DC. So generally, I hear very negative sentiments about Trump. I mean, the corruption, that's the big thing that we hear with that, is just that corruption that is so evident. So yeah, in my district, it is generally very highly against Trump.
Great. Ozzie?
So very, very negative. What we're hearing as far as Trump, there was last election cycle. They even had some campaign messaging where if you voted for a Republican, you had lower grocery prices, you had lower gas prices. They even stated that they would not start any new wars, and they also stated that. Gas prices would, did I say that already? Gas prices go down. They wouldn't start. And they also said they would only come for the criminals as far as when they talked about immigration, right? And that was their whole spin. Well, very few moments after that, we realized all of their talking points and everything they promised was not true. And we're in a far worse place now than where we were when we started this election as far as when they took over. So, and it's not about helping people. It's about putting more money in their pockets, it seems. So we really got to make sure that we've, from the state, from local offices, from local to county to state to national elections, that we're making good, sound decisions.
Great. Okay, another question, and then maybe we'll start with Ozzie this time and then go to Katie. Compared to the 2024 election, what does Hispanic voter turnout look like? And I know there was a lot of virtual ink spilled about how Hispanic vote was turning toward Republicans and Trump during 2024. How is that looking in this cycle?
So the question was, how does the Hispanic vote turnout look?
Correct.
Okay, so last election cycle, we needed about 18,000 votes that came out, right, as far as for the Democratic nominee. I really, truly think with the things that are happening, what we're seeing, we're going to have the biggest turnout ever. When we looked at the March primary election, my Republican incumbent received 6,052 votes, where myself in March received 6,500 votes. So we're really excited about the turnout. We're really excited that we are going to see a huge voter turnout. We have to keep the momentum going. We really have to get people to the polls, and that's the only way we're going to beat these individuals.
Great. Katie.
Yeah, we also had a lot of net new. We had 6,000 new voters that had never voted back in March. We just had the first Latina put on our city council in Arlington. So in terms of turnout, we are seeing more Hispanic turnout. A person that was from Arlington actually just yesterday, he was a student at TCU, a local university that I went to, and he just got deported back to El Salvador. He was a dreamer. So he just got picked up by ICE in Arlington and deported. So we are seeing more turnout, and I think a lot of anger of what we're seeing in terms of those policies here in my district.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you to both Ozzie and Katie for being with us and for running. You are doing the hard work, and we are behind you every step of the way and really rooting for you all over the country, in fact, who are on this call. So thank you again. Applause, virtual applause. And I am now going to turn things over to Lisa. Lisa.
Thank you, everybody. There's just been incredibly generous donations rolling in. Thank you so much to our speakers, Ozzie and Katie. Thank you for giving us your time. We know you don't have any time, so we really appreciate your just taking this time to meet with us. It's really been wonderful to talk to you. I love listening to Beto, but it's also just great to meet you guys that are just knocking on the doors and meeting your constituents. So we're going to close out our program now. It's at 8 o'clock, but some of us will stay on for a few minutes. We usually, stay on just to hear any more comments, field any more questions. Ozzie and Katie, we can release you, or you can stay on, whatever works for you. But some of us at 31st Street will stay on for a few minutes. But we just want to thank everybody for coming tonight and donating so generously. And maybe, Jim, you can put in the chat or let us know where are we with donations. But we've made a lot of progress.
Right. So tonight we raised $56,301 so far.
Wow.
Which puts us at 178,000 toward our goal. So I don't know if that's close to 3/4 of the way, 70% of the way. And we'll get there. We'll keep pushing till we get there. And I know some more folks over there will be donating. Over.
Wonderful. So for those of you who are signing off, good night. And for those of you who want to stay on, just let us know if you have comments or questions. Aaron, I didn't know, are there more questions you were going to get to?
Yeah, there's a few questions that are still here. One was, are the candidates knocking on Republicans' doors as well as Democrats and independents? So maybe Ozzie or Katie, are you all knocking on Republicans' doors in addition to Democrats and independents?
So right now, currently, we are not knocking on Republican doors. That will begin in August, mid-August. However, what we currently are doing are speaking to Republicans. We are reaching out. In fact, they are even reaching out to us, offering support in our campaign, as they are not pleased with the incumbent and are looking for more progress here in our area. So we have been speaking to quite a few Republicans, and we're glad that they're joining our efforts. So we are speaking to them, but our door knocking for Republicans will begin mid-August.
Yeah, and for me, we are knocking on persuadable doors. What we are actually seeing is a higher proportion of people that are newly independent that maybe have been formerly Republican. But I have knocked on some Republican doors, especially that are in my neighborhood, just to get a pulse. And it was really interesting because I heard everybody was like, "Oh, you're not going to get much support in our neighborhood. It's very red." And I was like, you'd be surprised. Out of the 20 doors I knocked in that one day, 16 answered and 15 were voting for me. So it's really interesting that once you talk to more and more people, again, they really care about the public education and costs. And I think we're seeing a lot of people that had voted Republican before and are not. Now, to be clear, there are some that are when we look at their score, if they are very very clearly Republican, like we're not gonna knock on those doors, but we are knocking on those persuadable doors.
Great. And another question that came up was, is anybody worried about attempts to interfere with voting at the polls or any sort of like funny business going on with sort of just the running of the elections?
I'm not too concerned. We have had that to the past election cycles where there was word that they may be interference, but it turns out there was no interference. We haven't seen that here in our area. I don't know at a national perspective, but here locally, as far as District 37, we haven't seen that.
I can jump in there too. This is Tyler Smith. I'm running in 138. I mean, I think we hear a lot of talk and blunder of people who claim that there will be some election fraud this year. I think I haven't seen it in our district yet, but I also say that, like, to anyone that has that fear, the best answer is to vote early, and make sure that your neighbors vote early as well.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And the thing I'd add too is, like, we've been voting in our district since Taylor Ramet's election back in October. So, like, we've been voting, for the past 7 months. and or 9 months, and so far haven't seen anything. We have, random incidents. One person in 2024 pulled up a tank to a voting location and the parking lot, which turns out is legal. But so we have like sometimes things that happen on a very isolated basis. But I think one thing that I've seen work really well when I poll greet, which I love to do, is when you bring some joy to the act of voting. And when people go and they vote together, we play music at the poll. Like when we can bring some joy and energy to being there on site, I think that does a world of good too.
It also helps to have a candidate like Katie and Ozzie as your nominees, who are just joyful, amazing people. So
Thank you, Tyler.
I have a question for Katie, if I could, Aaron.
Go for it.
I think I've heard Beto say that Tarrant County is the key to winning Texas. And that's where you are, and that's where the special election with Taylor Remmet, is that his name? Where
Yes.
amazing turnaround in that district. Do you have any insights, particularly about Tarrant County and what the prospects are in general, like for the Senate race too, for example?
Absolutely, it is true, and Steve Bannon has said it. When Tarrant County turns blue, Texas turns blue, the United States turn blue. I hate to quote Steve Bannon, but they are worried about Tarrant County turning blue, and they should be, because it really is. It really has been purple, but has been teetering and growing more and more blue. We also see a lot of some of the extremism that you've heard about also in Tarrant County. So it really is sort of, like I mentioned, the redistricting started in Tarrant County. It really is a bellwether. It really is a battleground. And yes, Taylor Remmet moved that 31 points. So that was in my portion of the district. So he really turned that district, and public education was a big motivator. We're seeing that actively right now in Tarrant County.
Okay, well, I know Ozzie district's very important too, so I don't want to.
Can I actually just raise another question that came up in the chat that I think is really important? Ann Ashbury was saying, we are donating on an ongoing basis to Tallarico. Should we stop and give directly to 31st Street instead? And I'm going to let Jim talk about this in a second, but I just want to be clear. When you donate through our link, you are not donating to 31st Street Swing Left. You are donating directly to the candidates and causes we support. We at 31st Street Swing Left do not take a single dime of any dollar that we raise. Jim, how would you respond to that question?
Well, sort of good, better, and best, I suppose. I mean, I think it's good to donate to James Tallarico. I honestly think, and that's why we're doing it this way, that overall you can benefit many candidates based on what we're doing. And also, I think dollar for dollar, probably helping him more as well than the marginal dollar on the 100 million or more that he's going to get. But bless you for donating however you donate.
Great answer. Okay, other questions that folks have?
Thanks to
I'm just
being so engaged.
I'm just wondering if there's anything, excuse me, that Teddy Shaw would like to add to this discussion.
I'm just so excited to be here. I'm the executive director of the Texas House Democratic Campaign Committee. So all of these are my great candidates that you guys are supporting. And I am just so excited and so happy for Jim. And, we've spent a lot of time on the phone trying to make sure that we have picked the right candidates. And, this week we did the social media training, and we've got it set up now. We're going to do individualized training with these 15 candidates. And we just can't wait to win in November and to show you guys all how great these folks did.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Tyler, for joining us.
Could I ask a question, please? I'm I'm up here in Washington, D.C., so I don't know the counties of Texas, all 201 of them. Where is Tarrant County?
It's in between Dallas and Fort Worth. Dallas and Fort Worth are very close together, but Tarrant sort of stretches in between and goes north and south of that. It's probably the easiest way, and it includes a large portion of Fort Worth as well.
Right. Any other questions, thoughts?
There's a question from Corey. Are the very restrictive reproductive rights for women of importance to voters in your districts? Are women in particular concerned about that?
Yes, so women's rights, we're strongly, one of our priorities is government should not be, or politics should not be in women's rights. A woman should make her own decisions along with her medical care doctor. And I don't believe politics has any business in it, what a woman does with her body or in her decisions. So that is one of the priorities that we have. That is something that's very important to our area as well. Yes.
Thank you.
And yes, we are hearing it. In fact, the legislator that was in this seat before it became open is actually the one that put forth the bill to criminalize the woman and the doctor for having an abortion. So I would say in my district, they're more keenly aware of it. Thankfully, that one did not pass, but yes, I certainly do hear that in my district, especially from younger women and older women worried about their daughters and their granddaughters.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say something that's sort of been said already, but just honestly, we are deeply grateful for you folks for what you are doing. I mean, it is really the hard work that you folks are doing, and I'm sincerely, I mean, it's easy for us to just, click on a credit card or something like that, and you really feel it. And so anyway, just my heart felt, and I think probably from all of us also, guys. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all too. Yes, thank you all, because without your support, and across the state and the nation, we are the reason why we're doing this, to help people to live better lives, to ensure that we left this place better than where we found it. So we truly believe that. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you, because without you all, it's much more difficult. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I was just going to echo what Ozzie said. I mean, I tell a story on the trail about Bloody Sunday, and how, like, when you look at that day, everyone talks about Martin Luther King and John Lewis. And in this case, I guess the candidates are the Martin Luther Kings and the John Lewis. But the people who had the largest impact that day were the other 600 ordinary people who jumped on that bridge, who knew they wouldn't get any recognition, who knew that their names wouldn't be on TikTok or in history books. They just did it because it was a fight worth fighting. And that's who our donor base are, and that's who everyone on this call is. We really appreciate y'all for the support that y'all give us, because without y'all having our backs, we wouldn't be able to do half of the work that we do. So.
Well said, Tyler. Thank you. That is a perfect note for us to say goodnight. Thank you all so much for being here. We so appreciate you, and we so appreciate our candidates, and good luck to each one of you. We will be thinking of you all the way through November, Election Day.
Thank you all. Y'all have a great evening. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.